degrees. I'm Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
From KMOX Sports.
Okay, boys, here we go.
Welcome to the Graybar Sports Open Line.
Goldschmidt swings and he hits a drive.
He hits a slammer. Graybar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs.
Here we go.
Now, Matt Pauley on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
All right, man, let's get going here.
Here we go. Let's go.
On a Wednesday evening, we do welcome you in. It's time for another Graybar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. Great to have you with us. We've got a busy program tonight. A couple guests going to be with us in about 10 minutes. Bernie Miklasz will join us. We'll talk a lot of things with him. And then same deal next hour when Scott Warman's going to join us at about 7:20. We got a lot to get to with him coming up as well. As mentioned, you can call, text, tweet, or leave voice messages. If you call or text, the phone number is the same, 314-436-7900. That's 314-436-7900. If you tweet at me, it's at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. And if you leave a voice message for us, it is via the Odyssey app. For those of you who are listening on the Odyssey app right now, you can look at your screen, you can see the microphone button, you press that down, and you leave a voicemail message for us. And or not voicemail, voice message. Let me get it right on what we're supposed to call it. You leave a voice message for us, and it comes right into the studio. So like I mentioned, we've got two guests, Bernie Miklasz, Scott Warman, going to join us today. Really, the two big things to talk through, the World Series, and we are going to see game number 5 getting underway in about an hour as the Dodgers and Yankees match up against each other at Yankee Stadium. Jack Flaherty, the former Cardinal, against Garrett Cole. That's the pitching matchup. Same pitching matchup as game number 1 of the World Series. And then the other big story is the St. Louis Blues and what happened yesterday and what has happened over the last 2 combined games. They had, from a deficit standpoint, their worst loss in about 4 years yesterday when they lose at Ottawa by an 8-1 score. And over the last 2 games, they've given them 13 goals because they lost to Montreal by a 5-2 score. So this is what I tell myself. I'll take you through my process because I don't just like turn on the microphone and just start talking. Like I try to think through things. My initial reaction on this is to be very, very negative about the Blues and what's happening, and just more negative than anything else. What I try to do, because I'm obviously, I've devoted my career very much to the game of baseball, and when the Cardinals get off to a slow start, do I go scorched earth on them? No, I don't. I take the step back. I say it's early. Let's see what happens. Maybe this is something. Maybe it isn't something. We're not really going to know until we get deeper into the season. And that's not a cop-out, by the way. Sometimes people accuse me of that being a cop-out, of me like just being neutral and towing the line and not willing to like go out on. It's not. It's based in reality. Sometimes stuff means something and sometimes stuff means nothing. Yeah. This past year, if we're going to keep going with the baseball analogies, the New York Mets were terrible. The New York Mets were absolutely terrible to start the season. And what did it actually mean? Not much, because they turned it on. They got it going. They got into the playoffs, and they went on a pretty deep playoff run, getting all the way to the NLCS. That's not something that you just rely on. Like if every team that has a slow start to their season goes, well, the New York Mets did it. So we had this conversation a few years back after the Philadelphia Phillies won the World Series when firing their manager. When we were talking, people would be calling for the manager to be fired. And I would cite, more often than not, firing a manager in the middle of the season, it might give you a temporary boost after it happens, but it doesn't really have a long-lasting impact. And immediately people are like, well, look at the Phillies. Look what happened there. And even when we're talking about hockey, we talk about the Stanley Cup run for the Blues and where they were at as statistically, from a standing standpoint, the worst team in the NHL, basically. And then they were able to turn it on and win the Stanley Cup. So those things happen. You don't ignore those things, but at the same time, those things don't happen very often. That's pretty rare. That is more miracle than standard operating procedure. And if you are hoping for a miracle, if that's what you're citing, if you are citing something rather miraculous as a reason to do something, I would argue, you're probably not right. You may be, but you're probably not. So we take that all to this. It's still really early on in the season. I think most people, if you would have said, hey, the Blues are going to be 5-5-0 through their first 10 games of the season, are you comfortable with that? I think most people would be comfortable with that. But there are just enough red flags on what's going on that makes me concerned. And it's the same concerns that I had before the season got started. And I kind of stopped talking about those for a little while when they had won 4 of their last 6, or 4 of their first 6, I should say. And again, just because they've lost 3 out of 4 and 2 of those 3 have been ugly one-sided losses, just because that's happened doesn't really change anything in the grand scheme of things. It's still early on. The sample size is still small. All those things that I repeat over and over and over at the beginning of a baseball season, they all apply to the Blues. That being said, that was ugly yesterday. That was really ugly. And I just can't completely get away from the idea that this was a Blues team that they were like this last year, where they would win 3 out of 4 and then lose 3 out of 4 and win 3 out of 4 and lose 3. It always felt like it, no matter what, it always felt like when I looked at where the Blues were at, they'd either won 3 of their last 4 or lost 3 of their last 4. That was just this roller coaster all season long. And there were some really not so good moments. And then there were moments that the team really played well. And that's the frustrating thing about this team. They open up this road trip with this fantastic win against the Maple Leafs, winning 5-1, but then they can't follow that up. And that's where you go back early on in the season. They had the road trip to start the season, and they won 2 of their first 3. And then there's a lot of excitement and a lot of optimism, and they're coming back home to have their opening night at home. And what do? They lose to Minnesota by a 4-1 score. That was very much part of who the Blues were last year, where anytime it felt like they were on a roll or they had some momentum, something bad would happen over and over and over again. And if they have that same type of DNA this year, well, then they're going to have the same type of result where they're going to kind of be in playoff contention, but they're not going to be very good, and they're probably not going to be in the playoff. Now, they're a different team. Again, it's not fair on my part to completely compare them to last year. They are a different team, but I think it's right to be somewhat concerned, especially with what we've seen over the last 2 games. We'll get Bernie Miklaus's thought on it. He's coming up in just a moment or so. This is a Graybar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Right now, 38 states allow for sports betting, including 7 of Missouri's neighboring states. Amendment 2 gives Missouri sports fans the freedom to bet on games too, and that will generate over $100 million for our schools without raising property taxes. Amendment 2 is endorsed by the Chiefs, Cardinals, Royals, Blues, and Missouri's 2 professional soccer teams, the KC Current and St. Louis City. These days, Republicans and Democrats don't agree on much, but the Republican and Democratic candidates for governor are both supporting Amendment 2 because it means more money for education. Amendment 2 isn't like the lottery. There's a strong constitutional guarantee. The new money from sports betting will go to our schools. $100 million for education without raising property taxes. Amendment 2 is endorsed by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and the Kansas City Star. Vote yes on 2. Paid for by Winning for Missouri Education. Mike Pridmore, Treasurer.
There's breaking news all day long from around the world, and sometimes all that noise makes it hard to hear about what's happening right here at home. With the free Odyssey app, getting your local news plus breaking news is easy. And even when you're not near a radio, stay connected with what's going on right here by listening live and push alerts. Just download the free Odyssey app and search and follow your local news station, and you're good to go. The local breaking news to get you through your day at your fingertips. On the free Odyssey app. That's AUDACY.
Celebrate the spooky season with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com and take advantage of these huge savings. Spell it forward, spell it backwards, always spells the same, Zero Res.
Natural disasters happen every year. Fires, hurricanes, tornadoes. And with that, your most important moments recorded on VHS, camcorder tapes, and 8mm could all be gone in an instant. Cherished moments like your wedding, baby's first steps, family trips to Yellowstone, lost. Enter Legacy Box. Digitizing your old media with Legacy Box protects your irreplaceable memories from the threat of natural disaster by digitally preserving them onto thumb drive, DVD, or the cloud, so they're safe forever. Legacy Box is the safest and easiest way to preserve your past, which is why it's been trusted by over 1 million families. Send Legacy Box your home movies, photos, and film. Their team of trained professionals will do the rest right here in the U.S. For a limited time, Legacy Box is offering radio listeners an incredible 50% off. Go to legacybox.com/value and save 50% when you digitize your memories. That's legacybox.com/value.
Hi, it's Stacy from Fairwinds River's Edge Senior Living, telling you about one of the best offers we've had in the nearly 21 years I've been at Fairwinds. 1-bedroom apartments start at $39.95. For all units, we've greatly reduced the residency fee. We are offering a move package of up to $3,500. And moving in, you will not have an increase in 2025. Visit us online at fairwindsriversedge.com.
This is a rare opportunity from Lombardo Homes. For a limited time, we're offering an exclusive incentive. Get a free finish lower level rec room or up to $25,000 toward free design studio options when you build with us. Lombardo Homes never runs incentives like this, so the time to buy is now. Whether you're dreaming of a lower level rec room, customized kitchen, or upgraded primary bathroom, you'll never get a better deal than today. But hurry, this offer won't last long. Restrictions apply. Visit LombardoHomes.com or see your sales manager for details. Lombardo Homes, your vision, our mission.
It's a night to be entertained and inspired. The Musial Awards return to Stiefel Theater Saturday, November 23rd. You can be in the audience for this nationally televised event hosted right here in St. Louis. Named for Stan the Man, the show celebrates the year's greatest moments of sportsmanship and those who embody class and character. Experience the extraordinary moments and people that make the Musial Awards an event like no other. The Musial Awards, presented by Maryville University. Saturday, November 23rd. Tickets at musialawards.com.
Broadcasting from the Underlying Three Lawyers. GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Bernie Nicholas on KMOX is presented by Salika Heating and Cooling.
It's Graybar Sports Overline right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. Great to have you with us today. It is time to welcome on to the program. You watch his videos every day. At least you should be watching his videos every single day on YouTube. It's at The Bernie Show on YouTube. Of course, you hear him all over here on KMOX. He is Bernie Nicholas. Bernie, great to talk to you as always. How are you doing today?
Good to be back with you, Matt. And I hope everything's going well with you.
Everything
good.
Yeah, everything's good. And we've mentioned this a couple times publicly, but now that you're on, I'll mention this. These 12 noon shows that we have been doing on Mondays are expanding out, where you and me and Kevin Wheeler and Tom Ackerman, all 4 of us will continue to be together on Mondays, and then some combination of 2 of us each other day. And these have been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to start doing these on an everyday basis.
Yeah, and people need to check them out. You know, we got to start building an audience on it. It takes some time on YouTube. You know, it doesn't come automatically, but we'll keep promoting it. But all I ask, just like with my channel, I tell people, just check it out. Just check it out. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. Go take a look at it. You know, I think you'll like it. So I'm really happy doing it. I'm proud to do it.
Yeah, you know, look, this is not me being dismissive of anybody else. There's so many great, talented sports media folks in St. Louis, but between you and your history in the market, Tom Ackerman and his history in the market, Kevin Wheeler playing baseball at a high level and being here as long as he has, even me, my time in minor league baseball, my time covering Major League Baseball, even before I got back to St. Louis. I just feel like the 4 of us are able to put together very good baseball conversations where none of us are yelling at each other, and we try to put the most intelligent spin on what might be going on.
You know what I like about our group? And again, I'm like you. I don't mean to sit here and pat myself and everyone else on the back. But I'm just saying there's certain things I like. There's certain style of how I like to do things. And the thing I like about our group, and this is why I think we have credibility, if I may humbly say that, is it isn't just that we know how to have a good conversation, and we don't always agree, but we always have a really good conversation. And we all bring a different point of view. But you mentioned my experience in the market and everyone else's experience in the market. There's also a really deep institutional knowledge. You and I know each other well enough now, and you know how I do things. I always found, like in the past, let's talk about the Cardinals. In the past, there's always a reference point in history. And I'm not talking about history in the 1940s. I'm just talking about since the Whitey Herzog era until today. There's always a historical reference point that sort of puts some perspective on what the Cardinals might be going through now. I have that institutional knowledge. Aki has it. Wheeler has it. You have it. And so it's very much an informed opinion, even if the folks listening or watching don't agree with us.
Well, and a name that's been brought up a lot recently is Jeff Lunau, because we're talking about this Cardinals reset and them once again prioritizing player development. We look at what they've done previously, and you've said it and others have said it. If you were happy with what the Cardinals were doing when he was around, well, then you're likely to be happy with what eventually, and we don't know how long it's going to take, but what eventually the Cardinals are trying to do here.
Yeah, and again, what the Cardinals are trying to do isn't anything new. It isn't anything drastic. It's actually overdue. Now, I do realize that there's a difference between what Bill DeWitt did when he hired Jeff Lunau. I mean, the Cardinals were thriving; they were doing really, really well. So it wasn't any kind of crisis point where they really had to shake things up. But Bill DeWitt was sort of looking ahead into the future, and he took proactive action, which turned out to be very prescient and very smart, because then it set the Cardinals up to continue to win after that one phase was over, say once they got past the 2006 World Series. And then they had to retrench. And that's where the Jeff Lunau effect kicked in. And who knows what would have happened to the Cardinals had Bill DeWitt not hired Jeff Lunau to just get that player development system pumping and the drafts getting much better and the international market opening up, all that stuff. So this time Bill DeWitt's doing it after things went bad. And it, better late than never. I wish he had been more proactive this time, but at least they're taking action. And I completely understand what he's trying to do, because here we go again with the historical institutional knowledge, because I lived through it and reported on it when Jeff Lunau came aboard with the Cardinals in the early aughts.
The three names that we talk about a lot in terms of them possibly moving contracts where it's not a salary dump, but it's just a move on from when I think if they move a Miles Michaels or a Steven Matz, that's a salary dump because they want to get out from under those contracts. If they move a Nolan Arenado, a Wilson Contreras, or a Sonny Gray, it's a little bit different. They're trying to shed salary, but those are guys are going to have legitimate interest. You had a video yesterday talking about trading Arenado. I guess with those three guys, what does your gut tell you on who's back, who's not back next year?
Well, that's a great question. I would say, and the only reason I hesitate is because I don't know what's going to happen in terms of Nolan Arenado's a no trade clause, and I don't know what's going to happen in terms of will they get a decent offer for him. I don't think the trade value because of his contract would be very high, but just in terms of what makes sense to me, it makes all the sense in the world to trade Nolan Arenado. He's going to be 34 in April. He's not wired for rebuilding. He's been on a lot of losing teams in Colorado. I don't think this is his kind of thing. I don't think he would be happy. And it just makes sense to move him to a place where maybe he gets a chance to win right away. So I would think he'd be the most likely candidate if they can work it out. And I waffle a little bit on Sonny Gray. So I would say Contreras, from the standpoint, the Cardinals not only have two young catchers that both bring a lot to the table in Herrera and Pages, they've got two young catching prospects that are highly regarded in Jimmy Crooks and Leonardo Bernal. And like Jimmy Crooks, for example, really good defensively. He's AA last year, left-handed batter. He just destroys right-handed pitching. So the Cardinals have, you just move Contreras to the side. They have 4 legitimate catchers that can fill those jobs over the next several years. And so you have a surplus of catchers. And if you can move Contreras and get that salary off the books and maybe get something good in return, to me, it makes a lot of sense, even though I am a huge fan of Wilson Contreras.
It feels like, and I think this is what you're getting to when we talk about the players who are most replaceable of that group, Arenado, you can put Brendan Donovan at third. You can have Nolan Gorman at third. And if Gorman gets back going, if the Cardinals find a way to unlock him, that would be a good thing. And especially based off Arenado's numbers last year, where he just was not slugging, the production isn't going to drop off that much offensively. Defensively, obviously it will. You mentioned the young catchers, but for Gray, you probably don't have a guy in the starting rotation who could come in and match what he can do. So I'm kind of with you. I think of those 3, if 2 were to be moved, I would be most comfortable with it being Contreras and Arenado, because it feels like the team is most built to withstand those losses.
Now the Cardinals only they know this, but Sonny Gray's contract is really backloaded. So over the final 2 years, he's going to make, a lot of money. Does that motivate them to try to move him? And of course he has to agree. And the one guy I didn't mention, so I kind of flunked your test there. I think Ryan Helsley is absolutely the most likely to be traded, because this is the time. They're not going to re-sign him after next year. He'll become a free agent after next season. And he's looking for a huge payday. Relievers are volatile. They're fungible. They break down. And if you would hold on to Ryan Helsley and you think, well, we can trade him at the trade deadline next season. Well, what happens if he blows out his elbow? You're not going to trade him for anything, because his market value is completely shot. So now's the time to do it if you're going to do it. And I think it makes sense to do it, although it will be a huge loss competitively for the Cardinals, and they would have to fill that void somehow. And, that's where it gets tricky.
How much would the Dodgers and the Yankees like to have a Ryan Helsley right now?
I think a lot of teams would. And I think all front offices are a little wary of guys who throw 100 miles an hour, and they're just like, well, I don't know. Helsley's had some injuries. Can he hold up? So there's some risk involved, even when he's coming off his healthiest season. If you're looking at from the other side, the other teams, I'm sure they're a little apprehensive, but man, if you think you can win it all next season, legitimately win it all, but you're missing a key piece, a guy to close out games, then that's worth a lot to you. I think if you're talking about short-term goals and closing something out, that's something that you just put your reservations aside.
Switching gears with Bernie Miklasz, how alarming was yesterday's Blues result for you?
Well, maybe reality's starting to hit, and I know it's easy to say because after losing, Robert Thomas, they had a good response to that, but now maybe it's kind of seeping into how hard this is. And I saw the news today that Coach Drew Bannister's shaking up his lines and some of his defensive combinations, but they just haven't been playing well. Other than that game in Toronto, which was great. That might have been more about the Maple Leafs playing terribly. I don't know. And, the Blues are 3-5-2 in regulation. And, if you look at some of their numbers at 5-on-5, they're not very good. So they're in deep now in terms of a challenge. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, they're going to be awful. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this. We all knew this was going to be really hard without Robert Thomas. And losing him as a faceoff man, because he's one of the best in the league, is part of that. Because then you get offensive zone time. But we knew it was going to be a challenge. And so with these challenges, you're gonna skate into some ruts. You're going to have a hard time, and you're going to fall apart at times.
All 4 line combinations in practice earlier today were different. Like, you have to do that after you have your worst loss in 4 years. You got to do some things in practice the next day and look around. But Bernie, at the same time, they've basically changed up line combinations. Even before Robert Thomas got injured, the line combinations were looking different from one game to the next, just about every single game. And I know as a coach, there's only so many things you can do, but when you've been changing them up every game already, what impact does it really have when you happen to move everybody around after one game?
No, I totally agree. In fact, it's so funny when I've always laughed at us, and I'm not laughing at other media because I'm part of it. You know, where everyone just starts hyperventilating every time shakes up the lines in the morning skate or the day before. I've done it, but yeah, I don't know. I don't understand why we always act like this. Oh wow, wow. No, they shake up the lines during games even.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal. But they're just looking for that right combination. Maybe some of it's based on the team they're about to play and where they feel they can exploit certain things.
This keeps popping up in the back of my head, and people tell me I'm wrong, and I probably am because I'm wrong a lot. But
you're wrong.
Yes, I am. This is there are so many guys on this team that underperformed last year that led to the firing of Craig Berube. So when I see things starting to trend in a negative direction, that little voice in my brain says, hey, a lot of these guys are these same guys that just would not perform for Berube. So why are they going to perform this year?
Well, no, you're being pragmatic, and I think it's fair, and I think it's logical, because if the lack of effort or intensity or commitment or buy-in, whatever you want to say, if that wasn't there last year, and yeah, there was a talent deficiency as well, but if that wasn't there last year, and this is a guy who led some of those guys in that locker room who are still here to the Stanley Cup, yet they kind of turned on him. They got a response out of Drew. I should say Drew Bannister definitely got a response out of them, but who's to say, there's going to be this unending commitment to Drew Bannister and that they're going to do everything differently under him than they did under Craig Berube when Berube was losing steam and effectiveness as the coach. So it's a fragile situation. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I also, I feel like maybe I'm overreacting to an 8-1 loss because they've done some good things. But the last two games in particular, they've been outscored 13-3. And there's no way to put any polish on that. That's just really bad.
He is Bernie Miklasz, part of the team here. Of course, you can read him over at Scoops Network. You can also watch all of his videos at The Bernie Show on YouTube. Go check that out. 1 to 2 videos being posted every single day. Great stuff from Bernie. And Bernie, of course, before we get you out here, who is bringing you on today?
It's our friends at Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Miklasz family has been calling Saliga Heating and Cooling really for about 15 years. And hey, we're part of the tradition because this independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer has been serving generations of St. Louis families since 1927. In fact, I love this because the Saliga family, there's 4 generations of them that have continuously owned the business, and their generations of the family have been serving other generations of families in the St. Louis area. I just love that longevity and that sustainable relationship that has worked well for St. Louis and the Saligas. So I'm a longtime customer and fan. Dan Saliga does a great job. They have that American Standard heating and air conditioning equipment. They can do anything you want, big job, small job, somewhere in the middle, residential, commercial, an emergency, just a problem, you have questions, maintenance work, things like that. In fact, they have a wonderful Priority Club maintenance plan today, and you should check that out. But they're terrific. I give them an emphatic endorsement for their honesty and integrity and professionalism and their knowledge. You can count on Saliga, just like St. Louisans have been doing since 1927. If you want to find out their services, you go to SaligaHeatingCooling.com, SaligaHeatingCooling.com. The phone number, which is on their site, but it's 314-481-7333.
The American Cancer Society calls upon Black women from all walks of life to join Voices of Black Women, a groundbreaking research study led by the American Cancer Society. Voices of Black Women is designed to better understand why and how cancer and other health conditions impact Black women. Go to voices.cancer.org.
Who you choose to sell your St. Louis area home matters, especially in this ever-changing market. We all know a few realtors, but I only recommend one. This is Debbie Monterey, and for the past several years, I've gotten to know Gloria Liu, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria is different, guaranteeing to sell your home at your agreed-to price, or Gloria will buy it herself. When selling your home, you want the most money and the least hassle, and that's exactly what you get with Gloria Liu of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. For example, after 6 months, 2 separate agents failed to sell the Wheeler family's home. With no more time to waste, they decided to call Gloria Liu. Within a few days, Gloria was able to get them multiple offers and sold their home at nearly 99% of listing price because Gloria already had the buyers. The agent you choose to sell your home really matters. 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or online at gloriahasthebuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Bill talks about why he loves 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
I was looking to renovate a home that I purchased. They came out, did all of the work in a timely fashion, and looks first rate.
Bill, would you recommend 3-Day Kitchen and Bath?
Oh, yes, definitely. Not only because of the quality of the work, but also the quality of the service along the line from the beginning until the end. They were there and with me, and as we went along, I saw some things that I thought I might want to change, and we're happy to do that. Really pleased with the way they work. As I said, not only the quality of the work, but also the quality of the service along the way.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
If you've been injured in a truck accident, you need the best. Onder Law, voted 2023's best law firm in St. Louis. Our attorneys will hold truck drivers and owners accountable. We stand up to big trucking companies to get you the compensation you deserve. Let us make your case our cause. Truck accident? Call Onder Law today for a free review. 314 or 618-9-million. That's 314 or 618-9 all zeros.
I'm Tom Ackerman with this month's Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight. The director of Siteman Cancer Center, Dr. Tim Eberlein.
When they have a comprehensive cancer center, and of course Siteman is the only comprehensive cancer center and only NCI designated center in the entire state of Missouri, and in fact in this region.
Special thanks to Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer. For more information, go to siteman.wustl.edu.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-837-5050. That's 800-837-5050. 800-837-5050.
Woohoo! Another girls' night out. I'm so stressed from shopping. I couldn't find anything. Have you tried shopping jewelry television? JTV? I don't know. Everyone in my family is so different. JTV has thousands of jewelry styles, artisan, diamonds, pearls, colored gemstones, watches, even gift sets. I shop on TV and online.
New JTV customers save up to $40 when you shop jtv.com/radio.
Now, can you relax? Yes. Another round? Yes.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from thegelmanteam.com. If you need to sell your home to buy a new one, it's never been more important to have an experienced negotiator that you can trust. You need my friends Mark and Neil Gelman on your side fighting for every last dollar. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
This November, you have a direct say in voting to retain our qualified and impartial judges. Missouri's nonpartisan court plan has been called a model for the nation and has been adopted successfully in over 30 states. The nonpartisan court plan ensures our judges are selected based on their qualifications and ethical standards, not politics. It is important that you vote yes to retain our judges this election cycle. On November 5th, don't skip the judges. Vote yes to retain our qualified and impartial judges. Paid for by citizens from Missouri courts. Sidney Dooley, Treasurer.
Podcast The Bernie Miklasz Show today on the free Odyssey app and follow to receive Bernie's daily take on Cardinals, Blues, or whatever else is in the news. AUDACY.
A Great Bar Sports Open Line continues right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. Great to have you with us. last night after the World Series game, Martin Kilcoyne over at Fox 2 had a conversation with John Mozeliak, and you can head to the Fox 2 website and watch it for yourself. I thought Martin did a good job and asked some interesting questions. A lot of what Mo had said, we've already heard him say, kind of the explanation for why they're going about things the way they're going about them right now, the shift to development and the reset in player development and all those sort of things. The question that was asked that I found the answer to be most interesting, and again, not because the answers weren't interesting, it was just most of the answers, we've heard some version of that answer already. But the one thing that Mo said to Martin on that interview last night was he was asked directly about discussions with veteran players and how receptive they are to what the Cardinals are trying to do. And we just talked about with Bernie a few moments ago in our last segment about the idea that this team is going to move on from some players. And in many ways, it might make sense to move on from a Nolan Arenado. In some ways, it makes sense to move on from a Wilson Contreras. Depending on what you can get back, there's a scenario where it makes sense to move on from Sonny Gray. So there's a lot of no trade clauses in those contracts. That is one hurdle that's going to have to be jumped over if any of those guys are going to be moved. But, and I'm paraphrasing here, and again, you can go listen to the conversation for yourself if you want over at the Fox 2 website. But Mo said essentially they've had some of these conversations with these veteran players, and for the most part, the veterans are excited and interested in being part of this reset for the Cardinals moving forward. Now, look, we don't know who he's talked to. We don't know how it's been put. We don't, and I said for the most part, I don't know if those were the exact words that Mo used, but that's a paraphrase that I think is correct. If it's for the most part, then maybe that is somebody. There is somebody in there who's does not so much have the stomach to be part of whatever the Cardinals are going to be doing here moving forward. But when I look at it, there's been some reports out there that Sonny Gray is really comfortable in St. Louis. He's pretty close to his home. It's a friendly place to play, that he would like to stick around, and that makes sense. I saw with my own eyes Nolan Arenado last year seemingly really kind of shift the way he went about how he carries himself to really being locked in on some of the young guys and trying to be a mentor to them and everything. And maybe that was maybe it was a byproduct of the circumstance that Nolan was not producing at the level that he wanted to produce at, and the team was not playing as well as he would like the team that he's a part of. So what can he do? Well, instead of just sulking and being unhappy about it, he can go really invest in young players and be a good leader inside of that clubhouse. And again, 1 year ago when we're having these conversations, the talk was about there's not enough leadership in the Cardinal clubhouse because Arenado and Goldschmidt are not vocal leaders. And I saw shit, and I didn't always completely agree with that. I thought it kind of got a little silly last offseason when every guy that's being brought in, we're talking about his ability to be a leader on the team and a leader in the clubhouse. And look, there's a place for that. I think in baseball more than any other sport, what happens inside the clubhouse has an impact on your win-loss record. In baseball, that impacts your win-loss record more than it does in football, more than it does in basketball, more than it does in hockey. It absolutely has an impact. But a bad team, talent-wise, where everybody gets along and you got a bunch of high-character guys, they're not going to go win you 100 games because it's all kumbaya in the clubhouse. Like that's not how it works. And I do think the clubhouse was good this past year. I think it was a good mix of young guys and old guys, and not a lot in between. There was a bunch of really old guys and a bunch of really young guys, but I think it was a good clubhouse mix. So yeah, I just that's what stuck out to me about what I heard from John Mozeliak in that Fox 2 interview yesterday, that the sense is that there's a lot of guys who are later on in their careers that want to be around. Now, that doesn't mean for sure they're going to be around. The Cardinals have talked about dropping payroll, and you get the sense they are going to drop payroll. And I just, Martin said at the end of the piece yesterday, he said of those three players that I just mentioned, Arenado, Contreras, and Gray, he thinks the Cardinals move on from one of them. I think the Cardinals maybe not likely, but I think there's a good chance that the Cardinals move on from two of them. It would not shock me if Arenado gets traded and Contreras gets traded and maybe Gray sticks around. I just, at this point, and this doesn't mean that these aren't guys that can't help the team win next year, because they potentially can be at their best. They are good major league players. I just don't see a whole lot of value at this point in Steven Matz and Miles Mikolas being on the roster going into next year. You can't completely rely on Matz. Mikolas, even with the fact that, this is a guy who was an all-star a couple years ago, and he's going to give you a really, really solid start every few starts. Unfortunately, that ERA, one of the 2 or 3 worst ERAs over the last 2 seasons, that looms large. So if you can find a team that will take them and take on some of the salary, you're not going to get rid of the entire salary, but if there's a team out there that'll take half of Mikolas's salary, Matz's isn't that bad, but you probably can't trade his entire salary. If there's teams out there that will take those guys on, I think you have to do it. Even if you will have to eat some of this salary. But when I've talked about a lot this week, just the rotation. I continue to be stuck on this idea that a rotation that features Sonny Gray, Eric Fedde, Andre Palante, and then some combination of McGreevy, Graceffo, and Matthews, that's the way to go. I think it can be as good as you were last year from a rotation standpoint, and it finally gives those young guys, McGreevy and Graceffo, and eventually Quinn Matthews, it gives those guys a job where they can have it and they can move forward. One more break, then we'll wrap up hour number 1 of the program. It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new break you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really help me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-499-5165. 800-499-5165. 800-499-5165.
Can't make it to Kansas City for the big game? No problem.
Kelsey, 3-point stance to the left. Here comes an inside blitz.
Experience every Kansas City Chiefs game like you're in the front row at Ballpark Village.
25-20 downfield block. 10-5.
Join fellow KMOX Chief fans on game day and feel the roar of the crowd right here in St. Louis.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
Chiefs watch parties presented by Jim Beam.
Hey, it's Bo Matthews for Beast Plumbing. And when it comes to the quality of your water, it is so important, not just for the taste, but for when you wash your clothes or even your hair or your skin. And bad water can affect all of your appliances. Call them today at 314-500-LEAK. That's Beast Plumbing.
The St. Louis Symphony Orchestra kicks off a 2-week celebration of Mozart this November. Experience Mozart's haunting Requiem as music director Stefan Denev leads the SLSO through the sorrowful and beautiful piece. Performances also feature Mozart's Dark, Adagio, and Fugue, and bass baritone Deshaun Burton's powerful performance of Brahms's 4 serious songs. November 9th and 10th at Stiefel Theater. Tickets at slso.org.
Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are ignoring kitchen table issues. Liberals are fighting to defund the police, indoctrinate kids, open the border, and put boys in girls' sports. I'm Ann Wagner. The people I talk to know better. Let's work for what matters most. Lower costs, parents' rights, and safer streets.
Ann Wagner is working for common sense solutions to the problems you face. She's challenged the big government machine in Washington and delivered a tax cut for middle-class families. Ann has stood with parents to defend their right to make decisions on the upbringing, education, and care of their children, protecting our kids from radical leftist indoctrination. And as crime rises, Ann has worked to protect our safety by fighting efforts to defund our brave police.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message. So pull up a chair, and together we'll turn the tables on Washington.
Fighting for your family. Ann Wagner for Congress. Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
Welcome back to the Graybar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Back at it, just a couple minutes left here in hour number one of the program. Got a text message from 314, says, look at the Yankees and the Dodgers. They have superstars. Dodgers superstars are not homegrown. That's what people need to understand. You can homegrown your support staff, but you need at least one star pitcher and at least one superstar everyday player, and then fill the rest with homegrown. I disagree in the sense that that's what you have to do. Yes, the Yankees and the Dodgers are playing in the World Series right now. I'm not running away from that fact. Two high payroll teams that have been very aggressive in how they have gone out and acquired players. And they have both gone to the World Series. But this is the exception, not the rule, when it comes to teams in the World Series. Look at the Houston Astros. You can argue that there's been no team that has been more successful over the last 5 to 10 years, especially in the postseason, than the Houston Astros. Are they going out and signing superstar players from the outside? A little bit from a pitching perspective, but their core is homegrown, and they've done a really good job, and they've got superstar players that are homegrown. So to sit here and say, well, the Dodgers and the Yankees, they're both in the World Series, and look at how they built their teams, so this is the only way to do it. No, that is a flawed premise. Can you do it that way? Yeah, you can. In some ways, does it make it easier to do that way? Yeah. But you know what? The Dodgers, they do everything right. They spend money on free agents right. They make trades right. They do player development right. They throw money around in the smartest way possible. The Dodgers are arguably the smartest team in baseball. And it's not just them bringing in superstars like Shohei Ohtani, and it's not just homegrown guys being support players. They've got legit dudes that they have produced. So I would push back strongly on that statement. Don't use just one World Series where those profile of teams are both in it as a reason to say that's the only way to win at the highest level. This is a Graybar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Imagine your team always looking and feeling their best in high-performance technical workwear. Cintas can make it happen. They have garments for almost every job imaginable. And with the Cintas Workwear program, you get freshly laundered garments delivered every week for everyone on your team. Great garments without the bother of laundry. That's a real perk for employees. Find out how Cintas can boost team image and morale. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Nina, hold hand. Let's bring the nail gun over here.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak.
But floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
In Missouri, farming isn't just a profession, it's a purpose. You can feel it in our 27 million acres of farmland. You can see it in the nearly 41,000 Missourians who work in agriculture. You can hear it at our farmers markets. You can count it in the $93.7 billion it brings our state. And you can taste it at your family's dinner table. A lot of farmers in our state rely on Bayer's tools and inventions because Bayer has a purpose too, to help farmers thrive. Learn more at go.bayer.com/purpose, paid for by Bayer.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
When can you retire? When should you tap your 401k? Will you have enough money to live on? We all have retirement questions that stress us out. But Steve Aul can help answer those questions and more so that you'll feel confident about the next phase of your life.
My job is to sit down with people and actually figure out what their wishes, hopes, and dreams are. It's about a standard of living, not an amount of money. It's how they want to live in retirement.
Join Steve every Saturday morning at 10 for the All Financial Hour, right here on KMOX.
KMOX, KEZK, HD2, St. Louis.
This is KMOX, the trusted voice of St. Louis. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Former President Donald Trump in Green Bay, Wisconsin, hops into a garbage truck, seizing on a comment earlier today by President Biden, who said he was referring to a comedian at Trump's rally as garbage, not Trump supporters. Trump tells voters,
Kamala and Joe, call all of us and them, even them, garbage. I call you the heart and soul of America. You are the heart and soul.
Democratic nominee Vice President Harris rips into her Republican opponent at a rally in Pennsylvania.
This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance.
Election confusion in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Voter Jenna Maltese.
I just feel like there was a lot of chaos going on. It was like everyone was running around.
KYW's Jim Melwert says Bucks County residents now have more time to apply for, receive, and cast their mail-in ballots in person.
The suit filed by lawyers representing Donald Trump and Republican Senate candidate David McCormick asked the courts to extend the mail-in ballot request deadline in Bucks County, arguing Bucks County officials violated the law by turning away anyone in line before 5 p.m. yesterday, including some who had waited for hours without allowing them to apply for a mail-in ballot. A judge agreed and is ordering Bucks County to allow anyone to come into voter services offices to request and fill out a mail-in ballot until 5 p.m. Friday.
The Supreme Court leaves in place Virginia's purge of voter registrations that the state says is aimed at stopping people who are not U.S. citizens from voting. Joan Ford of the League of Women Voters thinks it's a bad decision.
By permitting these systematic voter purges, the court jeopardizes the integrity of our elections and silences the voices of voters.
Federal health officials are reporting more cases of E. coli linked to McDonald's Quarter Pounders. CBS's Peter King.
The Food and Drug Administration says it's now 90 cases in 13 states. That's up from 75 cases at the end of last week. 27 people have been hospitalized. One person has died. The agency says inspectors have been looking at a processing facility belonging to Taylor Farms in Colorado, as well as a grower, both in the chain that supplies onions to McDonald's restaurants. Peter King, CBS News.
There are roughly 10,000 United Nations peacekeepers in Lebanon. Andrea Tonetti, spokesman for the force known as UNIFIL, says their jobs have become more dangerous as fighting has increased between Hezbollah and Israel.
Despite the very tense situation, UNIFIL continues to stay in contact with Lebanese and Israeli authorities, urging de-escalation.
The State Department says 2 White House officials are traveling to Israel, seeking a diplomatic resolution in Lebanon and Gaza. Now this.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
At 7:03, we have clouds and 78 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Maria Aquino. Our top story this hour. St. Louis County Police are investigating the homicide that happened before noon today. Police responded for a shooting in the 6900 block of Park Charlene Drive and found an adult man who was pronounced dead at the scene. No other information is being released at this time. That large fire at the lithium battery factory continues to burn an hour and a half south of St. Louis.
On social media, the Fredericktown Fire Department is warning residents north of Fredericktown to shelter in place over concerns of toxic fumes. Residents closer to the battery factory are being advised to evacuate the area. Videos and images making their rounds online show a tall tower of smoke emerging from the plant with fires breaking through the roof. The factory is one of the largest in the world at around 225,000 square feet. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
News of St. Louis City purchasing 9 Mustang Mach-E electric vehicles drew questions about design making while the city is operating with a conservative budget. Commissioner of Equipment Services Christopher Amos says these came in as the low bid amongst EVs, and although they share the name Mustang, these vehicles are not sporting cars.
The website for Ford says the spirit of the Mustang, but a clean electric vehicle. And so it was a marketing ploy is all it was.
Amos adds the Mach-E and the traditional Mustang sharing the iconic pony emblem on the grille is where the physical similarities begin and end. Well, this is a perfect weather day to test snowplows.
Today, as we do. St. Louis County Executive Sam Page held a press briefing explaining how St. Louis County is struggling to find snowplow drivers. Page says county employees from other departments other than Public Works and Transportation are taking the snowplow driving training, himself included. He's calling on the county council to pass a pay raise in the 2025 budget as an incentive to entice new employees and keep the ones they have. Stuart McMillan, KMOX News.
7:05, Dave Murray has another check of the forecast.
It's been another warm and windy afternoon, and for evening plans, all is dry. It will stay windy. It will stay warm. The clouds will be taking control. Evening temperatures will be dropping into the 70s, 64 for the low. Now, after 3 o'clock in the morning, we're going to be watching a cold front start to push into the area. That is going to bring some rain and thunderstorms. Some of the storms could be strong, possibly severe. Heavy rain, certainly at times, with a lot of thunder and lightning and some gusty winds. Again, that's primarily after 3 in the morning. Thursday, we start unsettled. Periods of rain and thunderstorms, some with heavy downpours of rain. Should all be gone by 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise, partly sunny skies. Cooler, 68 on Thursday, dropping into the 50s, going through the mid to late afternoon hours. On Thursday night, Halloween, trick-or-treat time, clear skies, a little breezy. 49, 50 degrees, clear and cold overnight, 42. Friday, a pretty day, sunny and 62. Saturday, also pretty, sunny and 66 with more rain and thunderstorms coming in late Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, and even into Tuesday, maybe even lasting into early on Wednesday. High temperature on Sunday, 72. I'm meteorologist Dave Murray for the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
It is 76 in St. Peter's. It's 78 in Florissant and 78 downtown at the Arch. I'm Maria Aquino, KMOX News.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Back at it here on KMOX. It is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Wanted to mention this because this is very, very cool. Maria Aquino is hanging with us for just a few moments. The Missouri Sports Hall of Fame has announced their next Hall of Fame class, and there's 2 folks connected two very strongly connected to KMOX who are on the list.
Ooh.
Earl Austin Jr., the analyst for St. Louis Billikens basketball, I think also going in for his work as a sports writer. And then also Jim Jackson, St. Louis Cardinals longtime engineer, being inducted in the class of 2024 for the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations to both of them. So well deserved.
Yeah, it's a big class. Some of the other, I don't want to take anything away from anybody, but Anthony Bonner, former SLU player, played at Vashon.
Yeah.
Let's see, who's Taylor Twellman, St. Louis soccer legend, a bunch of different teams in there. So yeah,
it's going to be a big class.
It's a really big class. So this is really cool, but not to take anything away from anybody, just awesome to see KMOX once again so well represented.
Very much so. Earl Austin, what a great guy.
Oh, he's so good.
My goodness.
He's the nicest guy in the world. And his love for basketball. I mean, you listen to these games and you just hear it. We're going to have him on the show on Friday to review the SLU season. We have him on a bunch, but gosh, we're so lucky with the broadcasters that we have in St. Louis, and that broadcast duo of Bob Ramsey and Earl Austin Jr. calling Billikens basketball doesn't get much better.
And his knowledge, it's like, how do you retain all that knowledge? And like it's nothing.
The institutional knowledge. And then, when you think about baseball broadcasts, we never talk about the engineers on other sports, but we do in baseball because they're there every day. They're part of the 162 games. Jim Jackson is there every day. He doesn't miss a day.
Yeah,
he's there every single day. It is few and far between. I would guess that there are more years where he does all 162 than years where he gets a game off here or there. And it really makes me happy to know that, while there's so much focus, and I'm not, this is not anything against the actual broadcasters, but Jim Jackson is such a huge part of St. Louis Cardinals baseball on the radio. And for him to get honored in this way, it is really, really cool and well deserved.
And that's so true because, if not for the technical people, there could be a lot of problems and things would not sound so good if not for those guys.
Yeah. And, I watched Jim. He works so hard. Like I'll pull back the curtain a little bit on this one. So he is on the first bus to the ballpark every single day when the team's on the road. I don't know how old Jim is, but he's not young. He's not a young guy.
Yeah.
And man, he's got all this equipment and he is lugging it around ballparks, and it is a tough job what he does, and he gets stuff put together so quickly. And, he has to deal with requests coming in at any given moment, and he takes care. I mean, there's a lot that goes on with that job. It's not like he's just carrying a pair of headphones and he plugs them in and he sits there and makes sure that they stay on the air. There's a lot that Jim does.
And think about it. Do you ever hear any problems on a Cardinals broadcast?
Very rarely.
Very rarely.
And I can tell you, if you do hear problems, it's not because of Jim Jackson. It is because of something probably on the road where they don't have a good internet connection or something like that.
Yeah.
So congratulations going out to both Earl Austin Jr. and Jim Jackson.
Very much so.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
So Maria, thanks for sticking around
Thank
a little
you.
bit with us.
Okay.
That's Maria Keenan from the news department. So that's good news. That's really good news, and so well deserved for those two individuals and everybody else that's part of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame that's going to be going in there. Really a well deserved thing. We are keeping an eye on what's going on in the World Series. They are underway. Top of the first inning, Kyle Sixton and I were just having the conversation on whether or not Freddie Freeman, A, would hit a home run, or B, hit a home run in the first inning. And if he does hit a home run in the first inning, whether or not it would be a 2-run shot. What is it? It's 6 straight World Series games for him?
Yeah, going back to his time with the Braves, 6 straight World Series games with a homer.
I don't know if he hits one tonight. I don't think he hits one off Garrett Cole.
I think that's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
But with the way he's playing, I mean, he just seems unstoppable at the moment.
Look, he's the reason, because you can go back, and I wasn't the only one saying this, but when this series got started and people like me picked the Yankees to win it, and I said it was like a 51-49 thing, when people like me picked the Yankees, I picked the Yankees largely because I thought the top 3 hitters for the Yankees in Judge, Soto, and Stanton, based off of the top 3 hitters for the Dodgers, which I identified as Ohtani, Betts, and then I put Hernandez in there. That was my 3rd guy for the Dodgers because Freddie Freeman just hadn't done anything. He was playing on one ankle. But me and many other people, again, it wasn't an original thought by me, said, hey, if Freddie Freeman finds a way to be Freddie Freeman this series, that kind of shifts the it makes it look more even. And he was very much a key for this Dodgers team. And it's not a coincidence that the Dodgers are up 3-1, and Freddie Freeman has been absolutely spectacular so far here in the World Series. And it's been fun to watch what he can do. I am very much hoping that the Yankees do win this game tonight. Unfortunately for everybody in baseball, yesterday's game and really the news coverage coming out of it has very much been connected to the Yankees fans who interfered with Mookie Betts down the right field line. This has been a really weird thing. By the way, Freddie Freeman did not hit a home run in the first inning. This has been a really weird thing because in some ways there's been like this glorifying of a couple dudes. One guy has Mookie's glove, like holding on to it, trying to dig the ball out of it, and it's kind of twisting the wrist. I'm not trying to make it more nefarious than it actually was, and in slow motion it probably looks worse than in the moment. But the other guy is holding Betts' arm. Like, you can't do this. And there's been some news coverage out of it where those guys were interviewed. One of them was like a former roommate or something with Rob Gronkowski, and he was kind of lifting him up. Like, we should not go down a path where we are glorifying people who are like physically touching professional athletes in the field of play. Am I crazy for saying that, Kyle?
No, you're not at all. I totally agree. It's wild.
And so again, the stuff like this happens. It's been more the coverage coming out of it that's been weird. And these guys are kind of charismatic guys. Like, I get it. If you're ESPN, you want the clicks. Jesse Rogers wrote a story. I'm a huge Jesse Rogers fan. He's been on this show many times. I see he comes to St. Louis. He covers teams in the middle of the country mostly. He's based out of Chicago, so we see him in St. Louis. I would see him a lot when I was working in Milwaukee. We always see him at spring training. Like, this guy is somebody who I respect so much, and I really like his work. This is one where I disagree with where he went with it, just because I felt like in many ways it was glorifying it. And I think so I saw this on social media. It's right. And it's not an apples to apples comparison, because when the Bartman thing happened, that impacted the home team in a very negative way. But Bartman has his situation. He has to go into hiding. You can't even see it. And now these guys do this in New York, and they're being vaulted up as some sort of hero by some people in the New York media. And I don't like it.
Yeah, it's an odd situation, because when you're in the moment, I'm sure you're not even thinking about it. You're just going after the baseball. But in this situation, it's so much more than that. He's reaching in the glove. He's touching Mookie Betts. It's more than just going for the baseball.
Right. Yeah. I think the baseball was on the fan side of it. So if they would have got the baseball, cool. I got no problem with it. Baseball rules are very, very clear and that's part of the home field advantage. Baseball rules are very clear. If the baseball is into the stands, yes, the player can go into the stands to try to reach for it, but they don't have a right to it over the fans. It's a 50-50 sort of situation. So if it's just a situation where those guys go for the ball and they catch it, or even if they deflect it away, like if they punch it out of the air where Betts can't make the catch, I have zero problem with that. It's the grabbing of the glove, digging into the glove, grabbing Betts's arm. Like, we just can't normalize doing that. It's different, and this is a stretch. I know this is a stretch, but you think about the Palace at the Malice at the Palace, and when players went into the stand like that, there's a separation between player and fan, and each side of it needs to be respectful. So players can't go into the stands and do something to fans. fans can't do something to players physically, and that's what happened yesterday. Very unfortunate. Those two individuals were banned from attending tonight. The Yankees have not said if they're going to be banned moving forward. Major League Baseball hasn't said if they're going to be banned moving forward. They are season ticket holders for the Yankees. They are hopeful that it's just going to be a one-night sort of thing. Tonight's the final game that's going to be played in New York. The Players Association has said that they are keeping an eye on it. If these guys are not banned long-term from Yankee Stadium and the Players Association decides that they want to make a deal of it, they can make a deal of it. This can be something that really escalates very quickly. All right, we will take a break, and when we return, our good friend Scott Warman's going to join us from FanDuel Sports Network Midwest. Have to get used to saying that. Our buddy Scott Warman joins us in just a moment. This is a Graybar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
It says here that Graybar is a distributor.
Yeah, we support electrical and datacom projects all over the country.
So you can get me the products I need, where and when I need them?
Yeah, thanks to our national logistics network.
Any industry?
Yeah, construction, industrial plants, schools, hospitals.
So you could say Graybar is much more than a distributor.
Yeah, you could say that. When you need a hand powering, connecting, or maintaining your operations, join the thousands of professionals who rely on Graybar to help keep them up and running. Yeah, Graybar does that.
At Neovitin, we are all about supporting your nutrition, and that's why we are excited about our new Neovitin Omega-3 supplement. Neovitin Omega-3 is formulated with 1,200 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids to help support healthy hearts. Our high-quality omega-3 fish oils are sourced from wild-caught fish and tested for heavy metals. With our convenient monthly subscription, you can get Neovitin Omega-3 delivered right to your door every month with no long-term obligations. Support your daily nutrition and sign up for a Neovitin Omega-3 subscription at neovitin.com today.
Weather can be unpredictable nowadays, but your local news station on the free Odyssey app has got you covered. Whether you need an umbrella, windbreaker, or an extra layer, or two, we'll let you know. Download the free Odyssey app and search for your local news station to listen on your smartphone or ask your smart speaker to play it before you head out the door. Download the free Odyssey app and search for your local news station. That's AUDACY.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
At Onder Law, we deliver big judgments for the little guy. Onder Law takes on the biggest industries and holds them accountable. Call today for a free review at 314 or 618-9000000.
Indoor air quality is so important, especially in the fall and winter months. Comfort Solutions Heating and Cooling has UV air scrubbers and whole house air purifiers. These solutions can eliminate invisible airborne particles, whether they're allergens and pollen, pet dander. The air purifiers can disinfect the air by destroying bacteria and viruses. They also can eliminate odors. Call Comfort Solutions Heating and Cooling to improve your air quality today. And don't forget about the $89 maintenance special. ComfortSolutionsSTL.com.
Moments like making my kids my famous meatballs mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell count that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by calling 844-300-LEAF to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water, And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Call Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate and to save up to 30%. Dial 844-300-LEAF. That's 844-300-LEAF.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
In the know, on the go. Trust KMOX for local news that impacts St. Louis and the region. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
It's Graybar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. We're very happy to be a welcome on to the program. One of our favorite people to talk with. We'll talk some Cardinals, some Blues, some Missouri Valley basketball, a few other things as well. It's our good friend Scott Warman joining us. Scott, always appreciate the time. How are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. How are you?
I am good. I am better than the Blues are because yesterday they lost 8-1 in Ottawa. They've allowed 13 goals in their last 2 games, and that was coming off a fantastic 5-1 win in Toronto. I know it's still really, really early, so it's hard to make any big statements, but what do you make of this Blues team so far this year?
Well, I think the one thing is obviously losing Robert Thomas is massive. I mean, he was your points leader last year. He's your number one center. He's your top facilitator. He was absolutely, you look at the numbers, Maddie, he's killing it at the faceoff. I mean, he's literally one of the top faceoff guys. So that means whether he's working PK or power play or 5-on-5, you're controlling the puck because he's winning so many faceoffs. So there's so many variables losing a guy like Robert Thomas. And that is a huge loss for this team, especially when you look at the middle of their lineup. When I mean the middle of their lineup, that's pertaining to the center position, probably isn't as deep as what we've seen from a hockey team before. You're trying to figure this thing out. If Pavel Buchnevich is a long-term center right now, you got a guy like Dalibor Dvorsky, who's going to be with this team at some juncture. Too early right now, still getting his feet wet in pro hockey, with Springfield on the minor league team. So with that truly is. And you even look, Matt, at the man games lost for this hockey team last year. It was minimal. They really did not get hit with the injury bug. And all of a sudden the first month, and this team is getting hammered with the injury bug. But with all that being said, I know I mentioned this with Joey Vitale the other day on the broadcast on FanDuel Sports Network, was the fact that the Blues are putting themselves in an uncompromising situation, Matt, by falling behind too early in games, and you're constantly playing catch up. They got away with it, and if you remember, in their first road trip to start the season, where they came back, had some big wins, went in overtime, what have you, but you can't consistently play like that. And that's what happened in Montreal. We talked about it after the game against the Canadiens on Saturday. All of a sudden, you fall behind 2-0 early in the game. The second goal by the Canadiens, actually, it's right after you had the power play. They get a goal, but then 21 seconds later, boom, the Blues score. And pretty much, if you look at the ice, it was really tilted towards the Blues' way from that point moving forward for the rest of the game. Unfortunately, they only scored a pair, and they wind up losing 5-2. Last night, well, that was just a stinker. But again, it's one of those things where you fall, 3-0 after 20 minutes of play. And it was really mistakes. The Blues were coughing up the puck. And, there was a lot of odd man rushes in that first period alone by Ottawa. But I think that's, if I'm Drew Bannister and I'm Doug Armstrong and company, one of the biggest concerns for me right now is this team not coming out of the gate quick enough, which is crazy because, as you alluded to, you're taking on one of the best teams in the National Hockey League in the Toronto Maple Leafs in Toronto, and you play by far your best game. You're like, whoa, what a response for the loss of Robert Thomas. And you even played really well that night before, or 2 nights before that, when you wrapped up your homestand against one of the best teams right now in the NHL, in the Winnipeg Jets. You only lose by a goal, and then all of a sudden things turn on it. So I hate to say must win. We're the first month of the season, but you got to play a lot better against a lowly Philadelphia Flyers team. I know they beat Boston, but the Flyers have really struggled out of the gate, and you'd really like to see the Blues pick up a couple of points tomorrow night against the Flyers.
Look, I realize this is not the same team as it was last year. There's guys who are here now that weren't here and guys who are here that are not here anymore. but there are a kind of a core group of players that were part of a group that resulted in a head coach being fired. And there were certainly character concerns that were raised by folks about last year's team, again, really, really early. But I'm starting to hear those kind of conversations again. Do you think that's valid or not?
I don't, because like you just mentioned, it's early. And the people I know that are with the team and travel with the team tell me that this is probably as close-knit of a group that we've had in a couple, 2-3 years. And so I don't know if there is validity to that, to be quite honest with you. And that's again, people that I talk to are with this team on an everyday basis. I think what you're running into is, again, you're running into injuries, and you're going to have to get over that. The other part of it is the fact that I honestly believe, and I said this before the season, I thought this team was deeper than we've had in years past. When you look at your regular starting 12, when your 4 lines, that meaning the starting 12, you probably have, and that was the additions that Doug Armstrong made in the offseason, was the fact that you had guys like a Holloway that you brought in, a Texier, guys that brought you a little bit more size and a little bit more speed, even a Foxa who's, a little bit longer in the tooth, but brought size. These are the type of guys that I think that you didn't have that depth last year. But again, you can't afford to lose a guy like Robert Thomas, because guys that are normally on your third line now, Maddie, are now being bumped up to your second and first line. So that's where you're kind of razor thin right now. I will say this, and I know I'm speaking because anybody, even that's even a casual hockey fan, can see it. Philip Broberg is just amazing. And like Joey and I pointed out on our show, on the pregame show on Saturday, the guy plays all ends of the ice. He's not only doing it from an offensive standpoint, but he's also very steady. He's not going to be a guy that's going to drill, somebody through the boards, but he is going to play very smart, cerebral hockey. And it would not surprise me to see Philip Broberg eventually maybe get up to the top pairing with Colton Parayko sooner rather than later, because this guy has really elevated his game. He truly has been, Maddie, a great addition to his hockey team. And I think Blues fans have a lot to look forward to with this guy steadying out the blue line.
Yeah, I mean, those moves that were made with Holloway and Broberg, small sample size, but my goodness, are they paying off? And Broberg, like you said, he looks like one of the top defensive players, not the top defenseman on the roster at this point. And even how they shuffled the lines at practice today, like you would expect them to do after a game like yesterday. But Holloway was up to that second line center today.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what you're going to see. With Robert Thomas, you're going to see a lot of juggling, I think, by Drew Bannister until you feel like you're comfortable and you got something going from a rhythm standpoint with this team. With all that being said, it's going to take a little bit of time. You just don't replace a guy like Robert Thomas. But yes, there's no question that Holloway and Broberg have already, have paid dividends for this team. And as you know, it's like baseball. I would say hockey and baseball, there are some equals there. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So you're going to have those times where you're going to hit a lull. But I really like what I see out of those two guys. And I know some of the guys that, have been with this team from day one in training camp have told me that they really are high on Texier, and give him some time, and they think he can be another great addition to this hockey team.
Let's jump over to the Cardinals for a moment. When the season came to an end, and then when we got to the first press conference, the talk about payroll going down was mentioned, and then we had another media availability, and there's been a few more things said by Mo. They haven't explicitly stated yet how much payroll is going to drop, but it certainly is starting to feel like it might be somewhat extreme, where to refocus on player development and try to produce more high-end players to the major league roster. What are your expectations about this offseason?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited about this offseason, and I think, and I've had this conversation amongst people that you and I are contemporaries, but also with Cardinal fans out there, that I think because of the frustration of what transpired the last 2 years, giving some of these young guys that have come through the ranks, giving them looks, I think is something that I think Cardinals fans will be intrigued. Granted, the ultimatum is to win baseball games. But, you have to learn. It's kind of a learning process. And as I've always said for years, we're so spoiled around here, this, Matt, that, we've seen winning baseball, or at least competitive baseball, for 20 plus years. So this is, really uncharted territory for Cardinal fan. So to say, we're going to watch young kids play, well, we haven't said that in a long, long time. But with all that being said, I think to me, what I am most intrigued about with this is to see what deals are made. But the important part is what you get in return. Because if you are going to deal guys that have value and have contract that you're getting rid of, if you can get some player or players that you can get in return that are ready, young, and are ready or near ready, that are considered top prospects within other organizations, I think you can turn this thing around. Like Mo said in that first press conference that you were alluding to, Maddie, is a retool. I mean, I've mentioned this before, is the fact that the retool that I think Mo has mentioned is kind of similar to what Doug Armstrong has been trying to mention. Like, look, we won the Stanley Cup 5 years ago. Guys age, things aren't going right. So we're trying to make what he would call a quick rebuild. And that's what he's trying to stay in the playoff hunt while, still trying to build up your prospect pool. And I think I kind of gather that's kind of what the Cardinals want to do too, is, hey, we're going to retool here, but the hope is that we're not going to be out of this playoff hunt for very long. And with some of the guys that we still have high expectations that are within our organization, bringing in more via the draft, but also acquire in deals that maybe we can turn this thing around. So I think, to me, I don't know if you're heading down to Dallas for Claves or not, but if you are, I would be really excited if I was you guys to go down there, because I think this could be a really exciting time to see what the future holds for this ball club and what the Cardinals are going to receive in some of these deals that we believe they're going to wind up making and trimming some of this payroll.
Yeah, and I will be at the winter meetings. And I think, look, I don't think you have to squint that hard to say, from a rotation standpoint, if you remove a Lance Lynn and a Kyle Gibson, but you add Eric Fetty, and then you have Andre Palante for a full year, and maybe you get something out of McGreevy or Grissett for Matthews. Like, you compare that to a group last year that had Michaelis in there. We'll see if he's back, but Matt's in there. Like, I think that rotation I mentioned can be just as productive. If you don't have Goldschmidt and Arenado, if you move on from Arenado and you look at first, second, and third, and you've got some combination of Burleson, Donovan, JC, Gorman, I feel like with the lack of production that you got out of Goldschmidt and Arenado last year, you can definitely see a scenario where you're at least matching that. And if you kind of match this past season in a year that's supposed to be a retool, I think that's a step forward.
Right. I agree. I think getting Burleson in there basically on an everyday basis, whether it's first base, outfield, or DH, or a combination of three, is very important. I mean, that guy, even opportunity, maybe find himself, maybe work with somebody else, maybe finding him, because we know he has some tools. And I think the same can be said for Nolan Gorman. Remember, if, again, we always put ifs, big ifs here, if Arenado is dealt, remember, Gorman came up as a third baseman. So is that one of those situations, I'm using an hypothesis here, is maybe a little bit more comfortable over at the hot corner than, learning second base. That might be something that could work to his advantage. Again, ifs, but I'm just throwing out different scenarios there. As far as the pitching is concerned, that's where I think the Cardinals probably are going to look at more likely than anything else when they do, or we assume they're going to make some of these deals, is try to replenish some of the pitching, whether it's starting rotation or even the bullpen. I think the X factor in this whole thing, to be quite honest with you, is Ryan Helsley. Helsley's coming off an incredible year. We always knew that he had the ability to be a shutdown closer. He's going to arbitration, Matt, this off season. After that, he's going to be a free agent. So I'm sure Chaim, along with Mo and everybody else, is sitting back, go, look, are we going to be able to afford him after next year if he continues to do, and hopefully he does continue to do what he's doing? Or would it be more advantageous for us while he's at his peak to maybe see what we can get for a guy like Ryan Helsley. I think that could be a really interesting trade chip if you want to go that route, or if you're comfortable, because I know this, and I've repeated myself several times, but I think it's because we have the utmost respect for Tony La Russa. But Tony always told all of us, just sitting there having a baseball conversation, if he started a baseball team, a closer would be the first player he would get, because he always said that was the most important piece to have a championship team. So just going by what TLR says, it tells me that, there is so much value in either having a closer or trading a closer, if that's the thought process by a lot of these other GMs and president of baseball operations out there, where maybe you can get something, a large return, if you will, for a guy like Ryan Helsley. I'm just really intrigued by what's going to transpire in this offseason. I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what this Cardinal organization does.
Last thing for you, just real quickly, you are one of the many things that you do is one of the broadcasters for the Missouri Valley Conference. College basketball season begins on Monday. A lot of excitement locally, but what is your excitement level for what you're going to see coming out of the Valley this year?
Pretty excited. I think we've got several teams that are going to be really good. I think Murray State, who's going to be in their third year in the Valley, really has an opportunity to make some noise this year. Bradley's going to be good again with Brian Wardle. Expectations are that Ben Jacobson, who's been a little bit quiet with his group over the last few years, Northern Iowa, always normally in the middle of the thick of a race. They're going to be there. Talking to some of my other analysts that I work with in the Valley, a couple of them work up in the Iowa area. Ben McCullum, who used to be at Northwest Missouri State and had a lot of success up there, took over for Darren DeVries at Drake, and they tell me he brought in some elite athletes up in Des Moines for Drake. So I'm going to be really intrigued to see that. We're seeing a lot of coaching changes, new coach down in SIU Carbondale, Indiana State, obviously with Josh going to SLU, and then, of course, Missouri State brings back Konza Martin. So I know there's a lot of excitement as you do so much success with that program at Missouri State before he went to Tennessee.
He is Scott Warren. Have you gotten used to saying FanDuel Sports Network yet?
Yes, I've been practicing at home a lot.
All right.
Well, here's a real quick one. So when we changed from Fox Sports Midwest to Valley Sports, you look at the desk, if you watch it all, and I just have my papers, my script or whatever. But when we made that change, I brought my iPad out. When I did, Maddie, with the iPad, I really didn't have anything on the iPad. I just had written on their Valleys as a reminder that I had to do Bally's instead of Fox Sports Midwest. Now, Saturday was my first time doing the FanDuel thing, and we had some issues going on behind the scenes with the truck and everything. So there was a lot of moving parts. So I didn't get my iPad, didn't bring it with me. I forgot it, but I didn't mess up. Okay. I mentioned FanDuel Sports Network every time. So I didn't get that email from the bosses in LA that I had screwed up. So knock on wood, so far so good.
Perfect. It's Scott Warman from FanDuel Sports Network Midwest. Scott, always appreciate the time. We'll talk again real soon.
Sounds good, Maddie. Thank you, bud.
Scott Warman joining us. So that would be tough for, I remember, I can't tell you how like locked in I was, because if you remember when I got to St. Louis, I had been doing Brewers postgame. I can't tell you how locked in I was on every Cardinals postgame show that I did not accidentally say Brewers, and that I did not actually accidentally say the name of the station that I had previously worked for, not KMOX. There were a couple times where it almost came out, and you kind of hear yourself before you say something, if that makes any sense. And I caught it. But yeah, that's you call it Valley Sports Midwest for a while, and all of a sudden you got to call it FanDuel Sports Network Midwest, and it's just a little bit different. All right, we'll take a break. We got a lot more coming up. This is the Great Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Hey folks, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house on the walls, patios, walkways, porch, or chimneys? If so, this might be a great time to call Morelli Tuck Pointing. What's tuck pointing? It's the removal of old mortar and the replacement of new mortar on a wall or chimney. Sometimes that mortar can become loose, missing, or deeply eroded. We've used the Morelli team to tuck point the Brennan home several times, and in fact, this winter, we noticed the bricks that line the ground near our porch in the backyard had gotten out of line and looked pretty cattywampus. One call, Morelli tuck pointing, the job was done. Morelli's the company that's won the Angie's List Super Service Award every year, back to back to back since 2005. Check out their reviews on the Google, Angie's List, and Better Business Bureau websites. The Masonry Specialists, 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your retirement journey, and it's never too late either. You just need to know that the steps may look a little different. Listen to Wealth and Wisdom with Gary Goldberg, Saturday mornings at 7 here on KMOX.
Broadcasting from the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-837-5050. That's 800-837-5050. 800-837-5050.
Imagine your team always looking and feeling their best in high-performance technical workwear. Cintas can make it happen. They have garments for almost every job imaginable. And with the Cintas Workwear program, you get freshly laundered garments delivered every week for everyone on your team. Great garments without the bother of laundry. That's a real perk for employees. Find out how Cintas can boost team image and morale. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Let's bring the nail gun over here.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak. No.
Floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, everyone. Dr. Colleen Bosler of the Audiology Center has a special invitation for everyone listening to this program. Doctor?
The holidays are approaching quickly, and some of you may remember struggling to hear when you were with family and friends last year. We want to make the holidays more enjoyable for you this year by providing you with the gift of hearing. We're hosting our annual Here for the Holidays promotion October 29th and 30th, and we will have lots to offer. Free hearing screenings, free earwax removal, free video otoscopy, and free demonstrations of the latest hearing aid technology. And finally, $700 off a new set of hearing aids.
Thank you, Doctor. That's an incredible offer. Folks, the Hearing for the Holidays promotion, October 29th and 30th at all 3 Audiology Center locations. Reservations are recommended. 636-441-7470, the Audiology Center, STL.com.
KMOX, where every crack of the bat resonates with tradition, passion, and the spirit of Cardinals Nation.
You know, Creed is getting a lot of love. I was listening to Dave Simons, Kyle, when I was driving home last night, and he started rocking a little Creed in the middle of his first segment as I was driving home.
He was rocking last night.
Yeah. I don't hate Creed. I owned a couple of their albums back in the day, probably like I graduated high school in 2001. I feel like they were like a high school band for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but a lot of Creed and a lot of Evanescence. We with the FanDuel Sports Network story from yesterday, I was talking about that with Chris and Amy earlier today, and Matt Pajeski, their producer, former producer of this show, started rocking the Evanescence song right in the middle of my hit with Chris and Amy. So that was fun. What's not fun is being Jack Flaherty, because his final start of the season did not go well. Yankees and Dodgers are playing World Series game number 5 right now. Flaherty, the former Cardinal, gives up 3 runs in the first inning, courtesy of an Aaron Judge 2-run home run and a Jazz Chisholm Jr. solo shot. He comes back out for the second inning, gives up another run, and his day is over. It is 4-0 Yankees, bottom of the second inning, and the Dodgers have already gone to their bullpen as Anthony Banda is in to pitch right now, as the Dodgers try to maybe put somebody in to stem the tide a bit and give them an opportunity to come back. I don't know how it's all going to play out. All I'll say is this. When the Dodgers were down yesterday late in the game, they made the decision to go with their B bullpen, which is fine. Those guys they're on the roster. They've got to pitch at some point. But they let some guys just stay in there and get shelled. And they punted on yesterday's game late in the game. It went to a point where they were clearly not trying to win anymore, and they were just trying to get the game over with and getting to tonight. I understand resource allocation and who you don't want to use yesterday because that might make them unavailable today. But depending on how things go, and I still think the Dodgers win this series, the Yankees winning 4 in a row seems incredibly unlikely. But if that happens, I think you go back to yesterday's game and that decision, and a Yankees offense that has been awesome, but then had not been awesome in the World Series. You let them unlock a little bit yesterday. You got them feeling good. And then what happens? They walk into the ballpark today, and Aaron Judge and Jazz Chisholm Jr. each hit home runs in the first inning, and the Yankees have 4 runs over the first 2 innings. I'm just saying that might be a decision that could potentially backfire a bit on the Dodgers. I understand why they did it. I'm not even saying it was the wrong move, but it was a move that might have negative consequences. Brad Young's going to join us in just a few minutes to preview At Your Service. He's in tonight from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. He'll join me next. It's a great our Sports Open line on KMOX.
When you're hiring for your business, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology makes finding qualified candidates for your job easy. This made us wonder, what if the rest of the world was as easy as ZipRecruiter? Math problems wouldn't be so problematic.
K equals 42.
Escape rooms? Elementary. And summiting Everest would be a walk in the park. In the meantime, if you want to make your hiring easier, use ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Simple. So, see what the world is like when ZipRecruiter does the hard work of hiring for you. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
KMOX proudly supports the Musial Awards, returning to Stiefel Theater Saturday, November 23rd. You can be in the audience for this nationally televised event hosted right here in St. Louis. Named for Stan the Man, the show celebrates the year's greatest moments of sportsmanship and those who embody class and character. Experience the extraordinary moments and people that make the Musial Awards an event like no other. More information can be found at KMOX.com/events.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
If you've been injured in a truck accident, you need the best. Onder Law. Let us make your case our cause. Truck accident? Call Onder Law for a free review at 314 or 618-9000000.
This November, you have a direct say in voting to retain our qualified and impartial judges. Missouri's nonpartisan court plan has been called a model for the nation and has been adopted successfully in over 30 states. The nonpartisan court plan ensures our judges are selected based on their qualifications and ethical standards, not politics. It is important that you vote yes to retain our judges this election cycle. On November 5th, don't skip the judges. Vote yes to retain our qualified and impartial judges. Paid for by citizens from Missouri courts. Sidney Dooley, Treasurer.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues.
Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new break you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really helped me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-499-5165. 800-499-5165. 800-499-5165.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED in my 12 years of practice. But now you can get world-class care for ED 100% online by going to hims.com. So what are you waiting for?
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
In Missouri, farming isn't just a profession, it's a purpose. You can feel it in our 27 million acres of farmland. You can see it in the nearly 41,000 Missourians who work in agriculture. You can hear it at our farmers markets. You can count it in the $93.7 billion it brings our state. And you can taste it at your family's dinner table. A lot of farmers in our state rely on Bayer's tools and inventions because Bayer has a purpose too, to help farmers thrive. Learn more at go.bayer.com/purpose, paid for by Bayer.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Just a few minutes left in the program, but you will not want to go anywhere once we are done. At your service tonight, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Our guy, Brad Young, is going to be hosting this evening, and he joins us right now in front of his program. Hey, Brad.
Mr. Pauley, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you as well. And final show for you before the election.
For the election, we are going to talk about some election stuff tonight. I'm going to go through some polling data, talk about some of the election lawsuits that we're already seeing, and trying to prognosticate not necessarily the outcome of the election, but how will the legal field respond to the what appears now to be a very, very, very tight race.
You're a smart guy, smarter than me.
Oh, please.
You are. And I have a hard, because I'm not a big political guy, but around this time of the year, it's hard to not pay attention. And especially on social media, I'll see all the polls, and I can go find a poll that tells you that Donald Trump's leading by 4 in Wisconsin, or I can find you a poll that says Kamala Harris is leading by 4 in Wisconsin, or in Pennsylvania, or any of these swing states. There's not a lot of consistency in the polling data, as dumb guy Matt sees.
Very easy solution to that.
So how do you discern what's right?
Very easy.
Okay.
A company called 538, which was devised by a guy named Nate Silver.
Yeah. Old ESPN guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He devised what's the perfect plan, and now it's being replicated by other companies. And that's what this is what he does. He takes and he divides polls as class A, B, C, or D in terms of their past predictability and accuracy after the election. So then he takes all the polls that fall into class A, being the most reliable, and he does a poll of polls. And so you take the most accurate polls, and then you get basically an average, a statistical average of the polls. And that, at least in theory, is the most accurate way to weed out the bias one way or the other.
Is it? Do you find it to be accurate?
I do.
Okay.
I do. But now that doesn't account for human nature. I mean, those polls are just based on what people tell the pollsters. Is everyone being polled? No. Does that mean if it rains in Pennsylvania, there's going to be less of a turnout of one group or another that could impact it? But at least in terms of predictability, that method is the best.
Okay, interesting. I know we got about a minute. I know you wanted to mention the Yankees fan situation.
Well, I was watching that Mookie Betts play where he's up there and the video is crystal clear. And those Yankee fans are trying to extract the ball from Mookie Betts' glove. And And one thing that nobody's talked about is, number one, the fans were actually committing assault and battery on Mookie Betts. They could have been arrested. I don't know if they were. I think they were thrown out of the game.
Yeah, and they were banned for tonight. They were told if they showed up tonight, they would be arrested.
Right. But also, how about attempted robbery? Attempted theft. It was in his possession, and they were stealing the ball.
Did call for fan interference. So from that standpoint, it was. Yeah, but that can't happen.
It can't happen. It's terrible.
That just cannot happen.
No. I canceled interviews for tonight because I wanted to leave the whole night open for phone calls. And so stick around to hear from the audience tonight.
Brad Young is on the way next. It's at your service here on KMOX.
This year has flown by, and now you're planning to sell your home. Like you,